Hey guys, welcome to Gods Unchained with the Professor and FakeMews. We're back for another week of musing. How are you doing, FakeMews?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, doing all right. How was your trip slash vacation?
Yeah, I was working very hard, if anyone is asking, and sitting on the beach, studying the tides and stuff like that. I think that's very important things to be doing for sure.
Yeah, it was a work retreat, right? You were mentioning.
Yeah, it was a work retreat, so it's kind of like a free vacation. Is one way of looking at it.
Was that your first time seeing the Pacific from the mainland?
I've seen the Pacific from Alaska. Does that count?
I think you're breaching the a different sea or ocean up there now, but I would say barely
If
counts.
we're not counting Hawaii.
That's not part of the mainland, but we'll count it. Have you been to Hawaii?
Okay. I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Alaska, but this is
Okay.
my first time going to the beach in California. If
Okay.
that was actually no wait, I've seen it in Seattle
Okay.
as well.
Okay. That counts. That counts.
So I just haven't seen it in California until this trip. So if you want
Nice.
to get very specific.
Guys, awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, welcome back. I saw you streamed on Wednesday. It looked like it was your 10 Wednesday stream, and it was a quick stream, so I'm guessing you did really well, right?
Yeah, won 10 games, lost 2, so that's a decent win percentage. Well above 1500 MMR, not in danger of deranking. Well,
Awesome.
already played my daily 10 today, so
So you're
I,
done.
I can confirm I'm not deranking and will be mythic for this weekend rank.
Yeah. And then I think as usual, you are going to be doing your weekend rank on the Friday stream unless something happens, right?
Yeah, we do have people coming over to my house. We had a roof that was damaged from a recent storm, and we're getting a new
Oh.
roof. So if they're not out by 6 p.m., then my stream will be canceled. But I think they will be done by 6. I could be wrong, though.
What kind of storm do you have in Alabama that causes damage to a roof?
Wind.
A windstorm?
Yeah, like
So,
lots of wind. Yeah,
oh,
we have pretty bad thunderstorms.
okay.
We're known for tornadoes.
Right,
But we
but
didn't have a tornado hit our house.
yeah, it was really just a strong wind. And then is it just the wind blowing your roof off, or is it like debris getting blown by the wind into your roof?
I don't know the science of it, but yeah, we had a lot of damage. We had some missing tiles. It was a night where there was a lot of tornadoes that just hit south of us,
Oh wow.
just a little bit south of us. But obviously, the wind was strong where we were at as well because we had tons of roof damage all throughout our neighborhood. It wasn't
Jeez.
just our house, but even our neighbors. They had basically there's been roofers all throughout our neighborhood over the past couple of weeks. We were not the first ones in line apparently.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, hopefully it's a quick job and won't cost too much, and you'll be ready for your Friday stream. But keep in touch with Fake News on his Twitter. He'll advise if he will be canceling his stream or not. But for now, it's scheduled as planned. So obviously you didn't do your weekend rank because you were out of town. I did mine, did terrible. Barely got six. I was at five for a while, so I was worried that I was gonna get a five win weekend. But at
Pull
least
a
I got six.
clutch.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I
Yeah,
was gonna pull a clutch,
yeah.
but I got six.
You
So
didn't. Yeah, you got 6. There you go. You did better than Clutch. Just one bad weekend ranked.
yeah, at that point I was just trying to get six, when it being clear that it was gonna be a bad weekend. But it's a new weekend. There's a patch that just came out, so let's talk about the patch. Fake news. Initial thoughts on the patch. I wanted to talk about three specific cards, but what's your thoughts on the balance patch that just came out a couple days ago?
Yeah, so I can see on your screen the cards that you're going to be talking about. So I'll talk about other things. The first off, the core changes. You're looking at Carnage Sweep is no longer a dependable board wipe. That is going to be huge for Control War. We got Cutthroat Insight, which is now dead. They just murdered the card. They made it a slightly better version of Ludia's Deception, except it costs 5 mana, so it's a worse version because Ludia's Deception costs one.
Yeah.
They completely murdered Cutthroat Insight, and Devouring Blade also got hit. I don't really understand nerfing Devouring Blade and Carnage Sweep. I think nerfing one or the other would have been enough. But with those nerfs, Control War is going to lose popularity, and that should bring, in theory, a good environment for decks like Aggro Light right now. I say in theory because Aggro Light was the only deck I've been losing with this week. So I obviously know nothing. I thought that was going to be the deck, going to be the meta, was Aggro Light, because you had the buff to Heart Mother. You have the Death of Control War, which was your worst matchup before. Both of those should mean good things for Aggro Light, but apparently not.
Yeah, apparently the other players didn't get the same memo that you did, and they're crushing your aggro light, which is funny because I had the exact same thought with Control War getting gutted. I was thinking aggro light might be the call, and and I think one of the call it deck that could stay on par with aggro light would be I would call Hidden Rush. But if you had asked me to choose, I would have chose aggro light as well. But we'll see. I mean, the weekend hasn't started. We'll see how the weekend goes. But I guess let's go back to your thoughts on the core changes. Given that not really focusing on Control War, but just the changes overall, it seems that GU has a tendency not just to do slight nerfs or slight adjustments, but just to really, as you say, destroy the card. What are your thoughts on that? On these iconic cards, Cutthroat and Carnage Sweep, just getting altered quite a bit.
Yeah, bringing them to 6 mana would have been another way of going about it to nerf the card, but keep the mechanic in the game. I mean, for instance, Cutthroat at 6 mana would definitely be a nerf because that is 2 turns later when you can play it. It's more awkward, but it doesn't completely kill the card either because those greedy deception lists can make those work. I am actually in the very minority that thought Cutthroat Insight was good for the game. Right now, you're going to see potential combos such as Lost in the Depths, Wrangler stuff, which has no counter for control decks, so you just lose. Or you see similar things with Dralamar, for instance, where they don't have to play around the cutthroats anymore. So the losing that card from the game completely, I know a lot of casual players are celebrating because they didn't like the mechanic. They didn't like that they went onto Aqua.xyz, bought their Demogorgon, bought their Ethereal, and then their opponent just cutthroated them away. They didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, like
But I still
someone,
thought it was a good
yeah, like
mechanic of the game.
right, like someone buying their first Ariel, and then the very first chance they get to play it, the opponent steals it and uses it against them, right?
Yeah, that happened to me. But I did get to play my Ethereal in other games eventually. So it was all good in the end. Just got to get more games in than that one. Can't give up on the card after that. But yeah, I don't like necessarily murdering the card. Now Carnage Sweep is for Control War pretty much dead, but for Relic War it can still be pretty effective because you just buff the relic. Then when you play sweep, you don't lose your relic. So that is another thing to keep in mind for those type of lists. But it's now gone from a staple in war to gonna be kind of niche.
Yeah, I think the change to Carnage Sweep, again, kind of the same line that you were thinking about Aggro Light, because now it's not a destroy, it's deal damage. So Light with all its protected buffs and Ward, I mean, Ward already protected before, but protected at least now makes it even more resilient against War's removals.
Yeah, just think about it. All you need is 3 Carnage sweeps, and you might be able to kill a Highborn Knight.
Yeah, yeah, maybe one day we'll be able to run 3 copies. So you mentioned you're in the minority of thinking that Cutthroat Insight was okay for the game. it seems like they totally butchered card stealing because they also changed Shrike Moonlighter. What's up with all this? Instead of stealing from your opponent's deck or their hand, it's now stealing from the void. Like what's up with that?
Well, yeah, they just want to find a way to steal 1/1 injured soldier tokens and get that going because I don't understand. Of course, Light can put those in their void very easily. I think it's a weird mechanic. It's almost an indirect buff to Pyramid Warden, but that's only assuming that anyone actually plays the cards, and I don't think that they're seeing any play at the moment.
Yeah,
But they that they did it to Shriek and they did it to the Sporelight card, but they left Gamma
Gamma.
alone, which
Yep.
is interesting to me.
For now, right? Because it's a craftable legendary, so they still want to encourage sales of individual cards and crafting. But maybe once crafting is over, Gamma's going to get hit too. Just a guess.
Yeah, that's definitely something that could happen. It's the only playable one of the bunch right now, I would have to say. I don't Shriek, even if it was stealing from the top of your opponent's deck without the hidden, is somewhat questionable because you have to run a lot of cards that you wouldn't normally run in your deck to play it. So it was borderline to begin with, and now stealing from the void is incredibly unreliable because it's very easy, depending on the time of the game, for your opponent to have no cards for you to steal in their void or to have no good cards to steal from the void.
So it says pull the top card of your opponent's void to your hand. Like, what is the top card? Is that the card that was sent to the void first, or the card that was sent to the void last? I haven't tested it, so I don't know. But do you have an idea?
I don't know either. My gut instinct would have been the most recent card
Most
to go to
recent.
the void, but
Yeah, I
I
guess.
am not sure. I haven't tested the mechanic yet myself either.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I think you're right on that part. But yeah, overall, I think you're right. Combos decks are now sitting pretty safe. People, funny enough, Bitter Endings has already been foreshadowed to be nerfed hard. Um, Not in the balance patch notes, but in the Discord announcement. There's a promise that Bitter Endings will be changed. Um, and it's funny because Bitter Endings has been another card besides Cutthroat that's been getting a lot of Discord hate and getting a lot of complaints. But it's not the only combo deck out there. There's other combo decks like you mentioned, Portal Wranglers, School Teachers, etc. But it seems now that with the appeasing the player base and removing deck stealing and hand stealing, you're right. Combo decks could be shining here.
Yeah, that was one thing that Bitter Endings decks had to worry about in the Deception matchup is getting your Bitter Endings stolen. Now, hypothetically, if you're playing the Bitter Endings Death against a control Deception list, I think you just win because there's really no way for the control Deception deck to disrupt your combos. And usually those decks are not fast enough to beat you before you can get it.
Right, right. So a couple of other patch changes. Looks like Hearth Mother was changed back to mana 2 and with a reduction of health, right? Was that was
Yeah,
that
but it only buffs Olympians now, so it's
okay?
not the same form as it was before. You don't have the issues of the turn 3, potentially 7/7 Pyramid Warden, which you could have
Right,
before,
right,
and that people love to see. But it's still a very interesting card, and definitely very interesting for Olympian Light for sure.
right. And then it loses that synergy previously with the was it Empyrean Pacifist, the 1/1 that kept growing with health.
Yeah, that's right. It
Yeah,
does lose that as well, which could be a little bit sad.
yeah. So Bob, Blood Oath Binder, it's now back up to 3 health, but with 0 attack. Do you think it's playable?
Yeah, I think it's playable if you run enough Olympians.
Okay.
It's Olympian heavy decks. You're looking at a lot of people experimenting with Olympian War right now. I'm not sure if anyone has gotten down the formula correct yet. I've personally done well facing it, so I'm not that. thrilled, but a lot of people are very excited with Olympian War, and it can go into Olympian Light as well. So I think it's definitely playable in that archetype.
Okay, okay. And lastly, Scion, I thought was a surprise nerf. I mean, it was getting played in almost every deck. It was a 3/2 with an afterlife of 1/1. Um, were you surprised with it getting nerfed a little bit?
I'm not surprised due to it being a very good card and being class neutral.
Hmm.
It reminds me of Skeleton Heavy back in the day. They have a history of when you have a good low cost card that can fit into just about any deck, they
White
tend
plane.
to nerf those.
White plane. Oh, they can't. It's locked.
Yeah. But that's a chase epic, and it's
Oh,
5 mana.
yeah.
Also, Scion is more flexible than Blade of the White Plane. I know a lot of people might give me some heat on this, but the 2 mana can go into aggro decks, while the 5 mana White Plane didn't go into every aggro deck.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So overall, we'll see how this patch plays out over the weekend. Last thing, the foreshadowing of the bitter endings nerf. How bad do you think bitter endings will be nerfed?
Given GU's history of nerfing cards, they'll probably find a way to make it completely unplayable. My guess is they'll do something like make it so you only get a 6 cost legendary
Mm-hmm.
instead of allowing the 7, because right now the major combos are getting the Anhotep, and I think they're just gonna take away the ability to get that. And when they do that, that's pretty much just gonna kill the card.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I will have to agree with you there. I don't think it'll be a slight adjustment or a slight tweak, given the history from, I've been in the game about as long as you. Um, Pretty much it's smash the cards or back in the physical world, rip the card up, right? It's gone.
Yeah, similar to what they did to Cutthroat Insight. It's gonna probably be something. By the way they're talking, that will just make it so it's only gonna be meme tier at best.
Yeah. And just real quick before we just finish this topic, you mentioned that you were in a minority feeling Cutthroat was okay. I mean, overall, do you feel like um, the nerfs to the cards were? Do you think they were actually balance or design driven, or do you feel like they were help the player base put their pitchfork away?
I think it was mostly people trying to appease balance chat,
Uh-huh.
particularly Carnage Sweep. I mean, was that really problematic? I mean, they nerfed 2 cards from Control War, and it's just mostly because people are annoyed by Control War.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was mostly driven by they wanted to make people in balance happy, partly because there's been a lot of negative momentum recently. I've seen some big names quit recently.
Yeah.
So I think they see that, and the natural reaction is to do something.
Hmm.
And when you do something, it's not always the right thing. I think that we could be opening some more. Basically, you kill one cockroach, but then you open the cage, and now you're gonna have 10 more come out. So it's gonna have more problems out there, I think.
Yeah. So lastly, have you sent condolences to your teammate Clutch now that his favorite deck and the only deck he plays is dead?
Yeah, I don't know what Clutch is going to do this weekend. I think that's probably going to be the most interesting weekend rank to watch this week. He usually plays his on Friday night right before I go to bed.
Hmm.
But I'm going to be curious what he goes out with. If I had to bet money, it would probably be like some control magic or control zombie thing or something
Yeah.
like that. It's going to be control something, but I don't think it's going to be control war, and it's going to be his first weekend in probably about a year where he's given up on his mistress, control war.
So would we say is there an over under at 5 wins or or you think he's safe?
Now I'm confident he'll get more than five
Okay.
wins. but he's gonna be sad. He's gonna be
Yeah,
sad that he's not playing Control War anymore.
yeah, agreed, agreed. All right, so with this, you mentioned aggro light, but you seem to feel like your theory is not yet proving out. Is that your prediction for the weekend?
I am opening with card draw magic, and I will probably play just about everything tomorrow. I mean,
Hmm.
just judging by how my weekends typically go, we're probably going to get around the block, and we're going to play a lot of different decks. So we'll see how that ends up going with. Card draw magic was my number one deck midweek. I think I finished 8-1 with it midweek.
Nice.
So hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I agree. Uh,
And we'll
yeah,
go from there.
what would you recommend to someone listening?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty open weekend in terms of what you can play. I think the smart people are probably going to be playing Control Zombies,
Mm,
because for one, you don't have to worry about the Control Wars out greeting you at the moment. Not that many people are playing the combo right now. I feel like I'm the only person playing Bitter Endings on ladder at the moment. I'm not seeing the combo magic list, so you can get away with those control lists, and it performs very well against other aggro lists, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of aggro. So I think the smart money is probably on the control death zombie type of decks. But I'm not the smart money, so I'm going to be doing other weird things.
fair enough, fair enough. You join any upcoming GU events? Oh, what happened to your tournament? So you said you tried to time your tournament match perfectly, so you'd be safe during your time away. How did that work out?
I made it easy. I just lost the first one. I think I've lost the first round in 4 consecutive tournaments now, so we're really on a roll here. It's really hurting my YouTube content.
Yeah, yeah, but at least you're right. You saved yourself a weekend of worrying about scheduling a match, I guess. So sounds like you found a silver lining.
Yeah, it turns out that the trip was perfectly timed.
It was perfectly timed for a break from GU. So I saw you released a recent YouTube video. I actually watched that game on stream when your opponent handed you the win, and I believe there were several people in chat, myself included, calling for paid actors because your opponent had lethal, or at least had a way to prevent your lethal, but chose to ignore the sanctum.
Yeah, Volka's Discovery, when you're facing somebody playing Hidden Rush Deception, is usually a card that you should buy,
Yes.
but they elected to not buy it. So that's creative gameplay, I guess.
What's your take on the maybe it's now even more than a rumor now. It's almost fake news slash fact about paid actors in 8M streams.
I mean, I can't comment on these. I don't know if you look at my weekend ranked results, you can't assume that I have that many paid actors. I mean, I think basically my streams right now are only paid actors and then snipers. I think those are the only two people I queue into. So it feels like every game is rigged one way or another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got some people on the other side trying to get some wins for you, while the other half is trying to get some premium content on your stream of you raging.
Yeah, there's a balance on my channel. Usually I have about 10 people who are paid actors, and then there's the 8 that snipe me. Then that's usually where I end up in the weekend ranks recently. It's been a struggle.
All right, all right, all right. So it sounds like you will have your planned usual Friday, unless someone takes too long fixing your roof. You're still planning to go on Sunday for your usual Flux Wheel challenge?
Yeah, that is the plan. I have to play. I haven't played nature since the last time I cleared the flux wheel, which was 2 weeks ago. So,
Wow.
yay Amazons!
Yeah, yeah. You're still keeping Blighted Scion in your Amazon list, right? Though, even though it's a nerf, right? You still think it's playable at 3-1?
And Amazons, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have it in Hidden Rush anymore, and I don't have it in Aggro War anymore
Oh, okay.
because the it can get pinged by too many god powers, and That just feels bad.
Yeah, I agreed. Agreed. Yeah, yeah. The two mana 3/1 that you paid for is now becomes a 1/1 just from a god power. That does feel bad. I agree. Any other content updates for you? So besides the YouTube video you just released, are you working on any? You're out, so probably not, right? Or unless did you have something from Wednesday?
No, I've got nothing.
Okay.
I've got. I'll be doing my weekly game of the week series where I just take a game from one of my Twitch streams and post it. And other than that, it is pretty dry at the moment. I'm not even in any tournaments. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll just have to find the secret sauce during this weekend, and that'll build content on its own there. All right. Thank you very much, Fake News, for hanging out. I appreciate you as usual. Um, Anything else you want to end with?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Bye.